Gun control is back in the spotlight, and for further clarity on local rules and the future of gun laws in the US, we have with us Shikha Hamilton. Thank you so much for making time for us on the World 24/7. How do you think the assassination attempt on former President Trump will impact conversations around gun control and safety in the US? Trump had previously vowed to scrap any gun control restrictions implemented by Biden's administration.
300 Americans are shot every single day. And so now Donald Trump joins that club of gun violence survivors. And it's sad to say that whenever there's a high-profile shooting, that's when this country pays attention, the world pays attention. 43 years ago, our namesake, James Brady, who was press secretary to Ronald Reagan, was shot. And since that time, he fought for gun safety laws, and he died of those injuries eventually. But at that time, even Republicans supported the Brady bill, and we were able to pass one of the most significant pieces of legislation at that time. So the country came together and passed that significant legislation, and I can only hope that Republicans and Democrats will come together again to pass meaningful legislation to save lives.
But do you think Trump may change his stance on gun control after this attack, or will it be business as usual for the GOP?
One can only hope. Being a gun violence survivor is traumatic to watch shooting after shooting. I know because I talk with them every day. And so I would hope that Donald Trump realizes the trauma of being a survivor and takes action. But of course, I can't speak for him or predict what the Republicans will do. But this is a time when the country needs to come together as they did 43 years ago in passing the Brady law.
Shikha, how widespread is the gun violence epidemic in the US, and what are the core reasons behind it? How can communities and local governments be more involved in preventing gun violence beyond just legislative measures?
So gun violence takes 40,000 lives every year, and that's not counting the people that survive shooting. So that's 300 people who are shot every single day, 100 who die. And so this is a significant problem in our country, and the problem has long been an electorate one that does not represent the people, as well as an over-financed gun lobby that successfully markets guns as the solution to gun violence, creating a culture where America has more guns than people, and we pay the price with our lives. We have more gun dealers than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. We have a gun in this country for every man, woman, child, and dog. So it's a problem, but when we can't take action federally with our Congress, we've taken action in the states. I live in the state of California, and for the past 30 years ago, we had a significant high rate of gun violence. And in that period of time, we passed significant legislation that has reduced our gun death by 49%. If the rest of the country would follow, we would be saving lives, and we wouldn't be looking at these large numbers today. So it's not just about these mass shootings. It's not just about these high-profile shootings. There's day-to-day gun violence that Americans are facing every single day. And as an Indian American, my parents surely didn't come to this country thinking that this would be a number one problem for our children. In this country, it is the leading cause of death. And I am the mother of a daughter who's a half African American and half Indian. I worry about it every single time she walks out that door.
How do you then respond to the argument that stricter gun control laws infringe on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding US citizens?
California is an example of that. We have the strongest gun laws in the country, and people have no problem legally purchasing firearms. In fact, gun sales go up every time there's a Democratic president in office for the fear that guns are going to be taken away from them, and there hasn't been a problem. So it's a myth.
Also, Shikha, what do you believe are the most effective measures that could be implemented to reduce gun violence in the US? And how can policies address both gun control as well as mental health care?
So right now, when the Brady bill was passed back in 1993, they didn't anticipate internet sales. And so now that law needs to have a 2.0 version that prohibits gun purchases without a background check. Right now, there are still states that can allow gun purchases without a background check because of the loophole in the law. So number one, the Brady law currently has prohibited 4.2 prohibited purchasers from obtaining a gun. We can make that bigger. And for example, there's about 20% of gun purchases that go without a background check. That's a problem, and that's contributing to the gun violence. And as far as the mental health issue, we've also been passing laws in states called the Extreme Risk Protection Order, which lets family members, when they see someone in their family in a crisis, they can get a temporary restraining order that prohibits that person from obtaining a weapon during that time that they're going through the crisis. It's
Right.
a temporary restraining order, so it's not permanent, but it solves the problem for that immediate need. And then if further action needs to be taken, the court can decide.
But do you think the government is likely to step up after this incident?
That is my hope, that Congress will take action, but it's up to this Congress that fully does not represent the American people. 90% of Americans believe that you should have a background check before you buy a gun. And I don't think there's anything in any country that 90% of people agree on. That's one of them. And then the other problem is the assault weapons. When we had the assault weapons ban between 1994 and 2004, mass shootings were down. They have gone up over 300% ever since the ban was lifted. Nobody needs an AR-15 to hunt. It is strictly for the use of killing people, or that's how it is the weapon of choice of mass shooters, and we
Right.
need to bring an end to the use of those.